So let me know when you're ready there, Taylor.
Oh, we can't do that.
Maybe do it before
We're
the
good.
closed session
Okay.
to show them.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our regularly scheduled DSS board meeting. Just a reminder to those in attendance and those among the board to silence your mobile devices. And I will ask our county manager to lead us in invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for your very many blessings. Lord, I just thank you for this opportunity to serve, Lord, that this commission board has, that DSS has. Lord, Lord, I pray you just anoint our hands and feet. Lord, help us to do your will. Lord, guide our footsteps and direct our paths. Lord, may we walk in your ways. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I'll ask Commissioner Ronstadt to please lead us in the pledge.
Attention, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 5 is the ethics awareness and conflict of interest reminder. Being familiarized with the ethics awareness and conflict of interest reminder, does anybody have any they'd like to disclose? Here none, we'll move on to item number 6, additions or changes to the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda tonight? Here none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt the agenda. So, all in favor, vote by usual sign. Motion carries. Item number 8 is the approval of the minutes from July 5th, 2022. Having time to review those minutes, I'll entertain a motion that we accept those minutes as prepared.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, vote by usual sign. Motion carries. That we come to our director's update. We'll invite our director to come and give us her update.
Good evening.
So this is my year anniversary. Thank you so much for supporting me through this year. I want to also thank Sean and Tammy for all of their support and all that they have done for me, as well as all my staff and supervisors. It's been very rewarding. It's been challenging. It's been exciting. It's been an adrenaline rush. It's just every day is something different, and I've enjoyed it tremendously. So thank you for your support as well. For my first year, and I hope to have many more.
I believe it's been a year. Happy
Yeah.
anniversary.
Thank you. So on July 12th, we did have our law enforcement meeting, and our county manager attended that. So we appreciate him attending. There was a lot of good discussion. Our next law enforcement meeting is set for August the 9th. And we'll also have our multidisciplinary team meeting that day too. We had originally hoped that we would have our community child protection team training, but we needed to reschedule that because there were so many folks out on vacation. So we will be holding that again, hopefully in the near future.
What was that mean?
The community child protection team, the CCPT, and that's what I originally, Jeff had kind of piqued some interest for that too. So once we get that rescheduled, we'll reach out and let everyone know. Just also want to let you know that Sean, myself, and our APS unit met with the Bryan Center staff on the 19th of July. We were just working on communication and keeping everyone in the loop of potential candidates for guardianship, and just kind of making sure that we're all communicating and being on the same page. Jennifer and I will be meeting with Lloyd Gilchrist. She is coming out to do an interview with us to really talk about the energy programs and how people can access those and what that looks like. So she's going to be doing the article for the newspaper. So that will be this week, actually.
She's been doing some ongoing kind of media stuff for us.
Yes.
Pro bono.
Support, yeah. A lot of articles in the paper. Well, all the articles in the paper, actually.
We appreciate
Sean and I are scheduled to meet with Trinity Episcopal Church this Thursday to look at the foster care needs of the county. And just once again, kind of building those connections and getting the word out of the need for foster parents. Jennifer also, with some of her staff, traveled to the Senior Citizen Center and kind of set up there, just really trying to get the folks that are attending there to talk to them about energy assistance and food and nutrition benefits. So I'm really trying to reach out there to make sure we're not missing that population. I think that's as far as updates. That is all the updates I have, other than the FNS and the Medicaid. We've been in process of interviewing some positions, and we have selected our candidates. So once everyone has been informed who was not chosen, we will also update our org chart and get that to you, so you'll have the new names and all the positions filled. As far as child support audits, they're still really going well. Tammy Bryant, she manages that for us, and she's doing a great job. The audits continue to do, or she's exceeding the state's goals each month, so she's doing really well with that program. And then I'll let Sean share APS and CPS.
Hey, Wendy, before, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but we talked about the amount of training that you had done in the past year, and I think you've done what, 2/3 of the Directors Academy, is that?
Pretty much, yes.
There were some questions about this here. Yeah.
I do have the checklist. I think you took a picture of it.
Yeah, I'll share that out.
Yeah, of all of the trainings that, the modules in the Directors Academy, and each time something becomes available, a lot of it has to do with, the association posting the training. So I kind of, at mercy whenever they post those, I make sure that I attend. So, and then the modules are just self-study that I do on my own, and then I meet with Tom Hughes, he is my mentor. And we kind of look at the modules, discuss it, and then he signs off on what I'm doing.
Yeah, 5 years to do that, sir.
Actually, they said 2 to 3 years, so they didn't even really put yeah, but I should be completed probably by next year.
Is it helpful? Is it helpful? Or is it
It is.
just something that takes up time? I mean, you actually get something out of it?
I am. It is hard to find time to do it, to be honest. The reading especially. Now the trainings, when they're available, I'm definitely getting a lot out of those. And some of them, I have done a team, like as far as the financials and that kind of thing. So it's very helpful. And then we can kind of discuss the budget and how it pertains to us. And then a lot of it is just discussions with Tom. And then I've also reached out to Raquel Jennings, the Avery County Director, and we all kind of are sharing and just trying to support each other. So it's very helpful.
I know you said you've been doing all those state calls too, with the supervisors that you need to set those in.
Yes, every month there, this is also part of the Directors Association. They do monthly calls, so they do committee calls. So like you'll have the APS, you'll have CPS, you'll have financial, you'll have the FNS, the Medicaid, you'll have all of these committees, and then they have an executive committee that meets afterwards. But each one of these individual committees, I'm doing those with my supervisors. So it's not only me getting the information, it's my supervisors, and that allows a lot of discussion, which is very helpful. So I'm doing those monthly, and there's also a 100 county call, typically monthly too, that we do together.
Glad you're back.
Interesting news.
Yes.
Good evening.
We'll just kind of get some highlights on the CPS. Start with the CPS, it's first page. We hadn't had any new kids come in custody for July, so we still have 30 kids in custody. We still have 8 kids free for adoption. We have 2 cases that are pending appeal. We're waiting on that to come back. We're hoping to hear something back in the next 120 days on that, is what I guess the average appeal length is on those 2 cases. The next 120 days, we'll go back on those 2 cases. We have one family currently in license training. We also received a request today, actually, of a family interested in becoming licensed, so we'll be following up with them. There is a correction. If you look at total number of Mitchell County foster beds, it's showing 39 on yours. That should be 29. That was a typo. I didn't catch that until this afternoon when I was going back over it again. Neil's made a correction to the main report, so that should be corrected following next month. For a number of calls that came in for CPS, we had 10 calls come in for July. We screened in 6 of those. And then we currently had, at the end of the month, we had 7 open investigations or assessments going on. An average in one family and in home. That's probably going to increase this month. Looks like we might have a couple more. So that'll probably change for the August report. For APS, we had 7 calls for July. 6 were screened in. At the end of the month, we had 13 cases open being assessed. So we can continue to track on an increased basis on the number of cases that we're screening in and the families and the individuals we're working with. Probably one of the biggest increase, and although that's not a big increase overall, though, the exposure for the county, we had another guardianship. So we're now up to 15 individuals in guardianship. We still have a couple out there that have the potential. So our greatest probably area with APS is the potential for that guardianship number to continue to increase.
Where are we at this time last year?
I would say based upon, because in January we had 9, I would think that we're somewhere around that 9 to 8. That's kind of where we were bouncing around 8, 9, 10.
We're about 40% higher.
So now we're up to 15, and we still have a couple of potential ones that could roll over into that.
Sean, would you care to, I guess, I know we've had a lot of ongoing conversations about relationship. Would you care to kind of briefly explain to the board, how that, the financial liability that's kind of we're exposed to with guardianship?
So just kind of real brief.
I guess the best you can do.
So really where the liability for the county comes in is once we have to take an individual into guardianship, that involved, the county becomes fully responsible for that care. Now what we try to do is we try to obviously use their assets to care for them while they're in our custody. And so if they're getting Social Security, retirement, if they have a savings, we are able, once we become guardians, to be able to access those funds to help care for their needs. What we run into is that not everybody has the financial means to meet their monthly needs, especially if they have to go, if they have to be placed in I want to say a program, but in a facility. They have to go into either something like Mitchell House or Bryan Center, which is now the Greens. Those places are very costly.
On average.
So Mitchell House, you're probably, off the top of my head, you're probably averaging about $4,000 a month. Mitchell House, you're looking at about $8,000.
Medicaid, Medicaid only covers if they're of a certain age, right?
Right. So then it becomes, and then we have individuals that have assets. So it's one thing if you have a savings account or a bank account that you can access where you basically have available cash that you can utilize. It's a whole other thing if they have property, because you can't just liquidate that property very easily. And so that becomes the challenge. Is sometimes they'll have property, and then you can liquidate the property. That's going to put them over income, where they have over $2,000, they can't get Medicaid. So then if we have someone who's in a facility that's costing us $8,000 a month, and they're only got $4,000 a month coming in, the county is paying the other four.
Good example, if you have like, you correct me if I'm wrong here, if you have like a pension and you draw, when I retire from school, I'll draw $1,600-1,700 a month. That would put me over income for Medicaid, correct?
If any asset over $2,000, and then SA in-home, is a lot of times, a lot of these individuals would qualify for SA in-home based upon the situation. However, their income, SA income is so high that it knocks a lot of our folks, although their income's really low, so they get knocked out of SA in-home. And then they're going to be over asset sometimes for the Medicaid. And so then that becomes where we're relying on their monthly income and their monthly resources to meet their needs. And then anything short of that, we're still obligated as the county, because we have guardianship, we still have to meet their needs.
So if I went to a skilled nursing facility, if I drew over $2,000, it would knock me out of Medicaid, but it wouldn't be enough to meet the $8,000 a month needs.
So be on the hook for 6.
County would be.
So the county's on the hook.
The county becomes responsible. That's where when we're looking at these cases, is we're balancing all that. Obviously, our first main concern is the welfare of our citizens. I mean, we've got to make sure that our citizens are taken care of, and the needs are being met. But we're also balancing that against, obviously, the overall needs of the community and the county, is that we're not unnecessarily bringing someone into a guardianship situation that they're really not needing it, putting an extra burden on the county that is not required. So we try to really work with them. If we can keep them in the home, we've been successful in keeping some people in the home with some wraparound services that keeps the cost really low. And then, we're trying to work it so that, how can we sell off some of these assets, which is not a lot of easy way. A lot of counties don't even go there. Their county. Another situation with this is that we can get guardianship of the person, but we can also get general guardianship, which means that the court also gives us guardianship of the estate, which then gets really complicated, because then as the county, we're now responsible for their estate, their home, their property, the upkeep of that, their taxes, the burden of making sure that if we're now responsible for their home, if a limb goes to that house and we're not paying attention and that house becomes damaged, then we're opening ourselves up to liability from a county perspective. The family could come after us if we have failed to do our job. That's why we're going out and checking these properties and things like that. So we're trying to work out how can we mitigate as much of this as we can on the county, because we're looking at a scenario where this is only going to increase.
And I just kind of wanted to kind of briefly delve into it, because I know, there's been a whole lot of conversation about APS and guardianship, and it's to say the least, it's a tricky field, and they're really working hard to navigate it in the right way for everyone involved, the citizens and the individuals that they have the responsibility of having guardianship over. So just kind of wanted to.
You think about somebody like a long-term, that could get real expensive real quick if you got somebody in there for years.
Right, and we're kind of looking at a scenario where the individuals that we're working with now are getting younger and younger. They're not 80 years old sitting in a nursing home. They're in their 50s. They could have long-term substance abuse. They now are mental health issues. Usually it's a combination of substance abuse, mental health, where now they're at a point where they're no longer able to care for themselves in any capacity. And now the county is gonna be responsible for them. They could be in their 30s, 40s with the long-term. So I mean, there is a long-term obligation here, and we're trying to balance how do we navigate through that, again, with meeting all those needs, obviously meeting our citizens' needs, but also making sure that we mitigate the burden on the county, their taxpayers, and doing the best we can for everybody involved. So,
Out of the 15, how many are in home and how many are placed in assisted living?
let's see, right now, out of those 15, got 2 in home.
And a follow-up question concerning the facilities. You're one of the agencies in Mitchell County that pays visits or inspects these assisted living facilities. I think the health department's another one. And maybe common system, building inspector. How often do y'all go in these facilities?
So the only facility we would be responsible for is Mitchell House.
Okay.
And so that is quarterly,
So why wouldn't you expect the Brown City?
because they're outside of our category.
For skilled.
They're a skilled
Okay.
nursing and versus a that's lost the name of it. Assisted living versus skilled.
Okay. So you go in every quarter.
We're going every quarter mandated by law, and then each quarter the state dictates what we're reviewing. And then of course, if we get any complaints, if any reports come in on that facility or anything that falls under our responsibility, we would go and then conduct an assessment investigation.
And going back to, just to clarify, I think on guardianship, I think the only time you have an issue really financially, like as far as liability, is when that person that's in the gray area that has too much income from Medicaid, but not enough to meet their needs.
Right, and we don't have, not every single person on this list is in that situation, but we do have some. We are, in a situation where we're having to pay out of pocket on some of that. And, another thing is that we don't always are not the ones that are necessary to petition the court for guardianship. Other people can petition for guardianship and ask the court to give us guardianship. And so we get gifts to the court, which we have gotten this year. Just get notified by the court, by the way, you're now this person's guardian. And so we're trying to mitigate that as much as possible because we would refer, that we're the ones making that decision, because then we've made sure that there's no other options before we go down that road.
I would say, you correct me if this is wrong, Sean, APS is probably a lot like CPS, good social work and keep people in their home environment.
Right,
A lot of times.
if we've got the right situation, the right support system, we're able to do that.
Just something to keep your eye on.
In addition, what we've done is we also, to keep up with statutory requirements, we've added the daycare subsidy numbers and also work first. So we're serving 79 kids and child care subsidy. And we're also for July, we served a total of 11 individuals under the work first program. That's all I have. Questions?
I was invited, I guess last week and before last, I've been invited several times. And they said that one of the things that they're trying to implement, or may have already implemented, is that they're having one application for all the different like facilities where CPS workers are seeking beds, so they don't have to do. Are you familiar with that?
I think they're trying to do a universal application.
Yes.
Versus each facility having their own application, that all facilities would agree to a standard application, so that one application can be completed by the worker, it go out to multiple placement options, so that it reduces workload as well as it kind of creates a continuity across the whole spectrum of placements.
That seemed like a great idea. I just was curious if they're implementing that yet, so.
I have not heard, I know that that was one of the, I've heard some talk about trying to do a universal application. That takes, I mean, that's making sure that every single different facility is willing to
Except that,
accept that. And
it sounds like it's gonna happen.
so I think that there's enough current pressure to avoid the single plex payer type system that I think everybody is more than willing to bend over backwards to make things happen so that we can not go there.
From my understanding, I mean, could be wrong, but it seemed like it was gonna happen. So that's good news for us.
Well, on childcare, are you guys experiencing having trouble finding adequate childcare or adequate facilities in this county?
Yes, that's the major. We don't have a waiting list. We have plenty of money. The challenge is no availability. We've lost, I think, 2 facilities. Some of the other facilities have had to reduce capacity because of staffing shortage. And if you have a child under the age of 1, there's no facility for you right now. And even if you try to go to one of the surrounding counties, basically do the same thing. It is a major. So VA, I can imagine how some of our really happening to that successfully is a huge challenge.
I was just telling Harlan it might be our number one obstacle in the county really right now.
Because it's gonna have, it affects, a parent can have a job, not have daycare, they can't go to work.
Affects everything.
And then you're just in this vicious cycle.
Affects y'all's work.
Man, back when COVID was so bad, I was in that shape. The daycare would call and say, we're gonna have to shut down today. There, me and the wild part, we're both like, okay, who can sacrifice today? Who's got more PTO or time? You
So it's
know?
multiple times before, staff are like, close daycare. I mean,
Yeah.
we're just trying to juggle what we can, not everybody has an adjustable workplace that can accommodate for that.
I told her, I said, I can't, I mean, we gave a lot of thanks because I said, if we worked at a factory or somewhere, this ain't gonna happen. We can't just call in and say, I won't be there today.
Well, you can do it 3 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you guys?
I would say to the point of knowledge on this is if there's an entrepreneur out there that's looking to start a child care facility. I know my past job, there were a lot of grants that could be fished for in areas that do not have sufficient child care places. So
The red tape, though, is crazy.
the red tape is crazy. I worked with about 3 of those startups and, you're
About
right.
ages you can have where, and what kind of stuff, I mean,
The
it's,
facility, playground areas,
yeah.
but there is a lot of help. Blue Ridge Partnership for Children can kind of help guide you along on that. So if you're interested out there, anybody listening online, check that out and see if Blue Ridge Partnership for Children can be a starting point.
I think childcare may be a priority of regional housing at this point. It's just almost non-existent. That's a good question.
I needed one of the larger daycare funds within the last year. That was very successful. And don't think another one's open back up. So I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, what do you do?
There's been several clues.
I think it really comes down to the staffing challenge. The state's put a lot of requirements on staffing, staff training and stuff like that. They want you to be a certain level, a certain star, pull down some of this money. And sometimes it's a huge ask for people. And then it's expensive already, and the staff at daycares are not paid a lot. And so you're competing against someone like Walmart who's paying $17 an hour, and you're going to try to, hire someone for 10. That's a huge hurdle. And if you were going to bump their pay up to a competitive up to 17, what you're going to be coming out of pocket as a parent is going to be so astronomical that I don't even know how you.
Well, you can't afford to work.
So, it's a vicious cycle.
My son in Vegas, since their first child, she's been a stay-home mom because she goes to work, places the child a nice facility out there. She doesn't make any money at the end of the week. She's working about childcare and how they got through it. So. I'm just here.
Out of 3,000 people that work at Baxter, that's the number one ask is childcare. And so we met last Monday with Van Phillips, CEO of the Y in Avery County, and Katie Willett. They came down there basically trying to raise money for the Y here in Mitchell County. So we met with them and
Childcare purposes.
well, that's the Baxter play is, can you guys provide childcare? We'll subsidize it. We'll help you guys get your bill to just, so we're trying to work on that.
So you're not losing employees.
Yeah.
Benefits us to help you.
Yeah, to us to try to help them. And then partnering with Y, so in Avery County, you got Avery, you got McDowell, now you got and Buncombe and Mitchell County will be a part of that loop. So, but that's unfortunately Mitchell County, it's not today, and it needs to be today because, but at least in those other counties, you get a little bit of help. That's my number one concern is child.
It's not funny. I sort of chuckle in a way, but it's sort of be worth Baxter's time to build their own daycare for every employee that's out there.
Yeah.
And have a benefit package and hey, bring young kids and, because you gotta make production.
Yeah.
And being an employment perk, that's what I was thinking. I just think a couple of large companies could open up a facility and make that a.
Well, I
I
tell you,
would say courts and Felsport, their Sudoku is the same way. That's some of their biggest needs is around that.
spin off of that is I work with a lady who lives right here in Bakersville. And her child, she told me today, is going to Deaton to school. And I just said, why are they not going to Gooch? There's no after school care there. I said, so you mean to tell me you're driving all the way to Deaton when you go across Green Mountain to work, which would be much, She said, I have no choice, because she said after 2:30, my child has nowhere to go if they go to Gooch, and there's no after school there.
And you're
So-
gonna let me off at 2:00.
Well, she was like, she said to me, there's been many times I was seeing a patient in Weaverville, and I had to drive to Deaton to get my child at 2:30, 3 o'clock because something happened or whatever. And then I had to drive back to Weaverville after I found childcare at 3 o'clock for my child. So, and again, just another spin off of what people are dealing with and how hard it is to work and make a living when you.
Sorry.
We do, that's what we do. I appreciate y'all really recognizing some of the talent in this, because we're not gonna, without you guys understanding, because you guys obviously are understanding what we're faced with our clients is you can't find solutions without working together.
They do a lot of job up there. They do a good job at it. So, appreciate y'all. Ms. Tammy?
Right. So,
You get to follow that.
Yeah. So we're right out of the gate in July. I am still working on last year and end of year's numbers for you, so I'll report that next month, if that's all right. There's some adjustments to make, but I think our revenues, we caught our revenues back up, and my projection is the year went real good when his first year. So that'll be good, and I'll save that for next meeting. Right out of the gate for July, we're running at 7.25% in all programs for expenditures, and it's just too new to report on any revenues because we haven't even filed our reimbursement report for July. So that being said, that's just where we are, unless you have any questions. I do want to just tell you that if you look at this account for the expenditures that what Sean was speaking of in that account 5-10-1940, that guardianship housing, that is what we budgeted this year to absorb those costs that Sean was talking about.
Okay.
Those APS clients. So that would be amended if we take in more clients that we have to incur their costs. Just since that was on into the discussion tonight, that's how I would mention it.
Hey, Tammy, retiree insurance, we're already at 17%. Does that mean it's just gone up that much?
Yeah, we're. let's see. Which county are you looking at?
It's right below the Gordon. Actually. 1960.
Yeah, the 13,8906.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, our budget was a little less than that last year. So it's 80,000 this year. So that, what percentage that is the latest question.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I have one more. I saw.
Okay.
Sorry,
That's okay.
the computer equipment software, the 21%, I guess that's called for updating that as we go. That's not monthly recurring.
So when I told you I was gonna adjust for last year,
Mhm.
this cost may have came over from June and needs to go back into last year. So what you're seeing is 2 months worth of our computer cost, which is mostly in this area is our copiers up there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that all those costs that came into July are in fact July costs and go back through it before I report next year.
Any other questions for Tammy?
Hey, thank you.
Is there a need for closed session or not? Hear none, board comments, Commissioner Horton?
Yeah, I have one, and I don't want to speak to this also in the commissioners meeting, and it's to brag on you guys. I've had a lot of time with this knee surgery, try to occupy my mind. So I was looking at Davis's report in the 12 months. And very proud of you, very proud of all departments and all employees of Mitchell County. You guys came in under the budget. 2020 to $271,870. So with everything that's going on since 2020 with COVID, all this, everybody's gone crazy. Seems like
It usually gets a budget amendment twice a year, so it's.
But you should be proud of what you've done up there from your coding and the management and the employees, from top to bottom. I mean, this is huge. For a small county. And it's like Steve said, it's very good to give that positive instead of saying, hey, guys, you guys need that $120,000 for it. And we've heard that in the past, but while you guys were sitting here, I just wanted to say that to you, because that is huge.
Thank you. Commissioner Rice?
Kudos for a job well done. Thank y'all for caring for the most vulnerable of our citizens. And Wendy, congratulations on a year. Great job.
Commissioner Benton?
Burn speaks so eloquently. I would echo what they say.
As always, I appreciate you guys and the leadership team out there. You guys do a great job. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion, we adjourn.
So moved.